Welcome to Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged, a podcast for all women with a creative business who want to learn more about how to make money doing something they love. I'm Joanne Pearce, a female entrepreneur myself, 15 years experience running my own handmade stationery business, Vintage Twee. I'm an established seller on two of the biggest handmade marketplaces, so I've got a whole load of advice to share about how to start and run your own successful creative business. I'm also a wife and a mother, so I get the struggles of trying to do it all while you're raising a family. It's hard. Alongside running Vintage Twee, I'm also a mentor for other women like me who desperately want to work for themselves but just need that bit of support to get going and get their business dream off the ground. I'm a friendly northerner, I'm open and honest with a huge heart and a real fighting spirit, and I'm living proof that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to, even in the face of adversity. This podcast celebrates the selflessness, strength, and resilience of women in business. So if you're ready to ditch the 9 to 5 and learn how to start your own successful creative business, you're in the right place. Hello and welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. Have I got a treat for you today? Have you ever found yourself not knowing how to properly communicate with your audience? Whether that's in person, for example, when you're selling your products or services face to face, like say at craft markets or exhibitions, and you just don't know how to approach them or handle certain types of conversations, like, for example, prices. I mean, we all dread the response from potential customers, don't we, when they ask how much something we are selling is. Talking about prices is so difficult, isn't it? Or maybe you struggle communicating your personality to your audience through virtual means such as email and social media. I mean, how many of us feel uncomfortable putting our faces out there for the world to see? Just so we can try and connect with the people who might want to buy our stuff, It's scary, isn't it? Because when we run our own businesses, communicating correctly is imperative to its success. Just because you work from your studio in the garden or your spare room at home and you barely see anyone other than the dog on a daily basis, it doesn't mean that you don't need to know this stuff. When you run your own business and you work from home, particularly, and you don't see anyone other than the dog or maybe your next door neighbour pottering in the garden every day, it's even more important that you keep on top of your communication skills. Like, use it or lose it. That's what they say to you, isn't it? When you have physio and they encourage you, force you to get up out of bed on day one after you've had major surgery, just to start working on that hip or leg or whatever it is you've had operated on. They take no prisoners, physios, do they? And they say if you aren't practicing these skills and flexing these muscles, then you're going to lose the art of how to do it all together. And that's the same for communication. So actually, even if you do work from home and you only have meetings with yourself and you don't do craft fairs or meet your customers face to face, you still need to know how to communicate effectively through your keyboard to get those sales in. So today I am talking to a lady who knows everything there is to know about being a superstar communicator. Like literally, like that is the name of her business. She makes a living helping people present the best version of themselves in all of their business interactions. Whether you're meeting people face to face at craft fairs or pitching your products in a shop that you've always wanted to be stocked in, or even just trying to get your personality across through your social media channels so people resonate with you, trust you, and ultimately want to buy from you. Well, Susan Heaton Wright is the woman who can help you do all of this. And she's here today talking to me on the podcast because a lot of us are the type of people who often feel more comfortable hiding behind our work, don't we? Like some kind of creative ninja, which is a cool skill to have, yeah, but invisible businesses don't pay the bills. Susan is a multi-award winning businesswoman. She's an international keynote speaker, former prize-winning opera singer, like how cool is that? Author, host of the Superstar Communicator podcast, and the founder of Superstar Communicator, where she supports people to speak and communicate with confidence in a whole variety of business conversations, just to make sure that you are listened to and you have impact when you speak. Through her own experience as a singer, performing on stage, a speaker as well, and a whole lot of neuroscience knowledge, she developed a specific methodology that can be applied by people like you and I so we can become great speakers and communicators. Susan is so passionate about everyone presenting the best version of themselves, being authentic, and being able to speak and communicate with their personality. So we had a really good conversation where I asked Susan all the questions that you will want to know the answers to when it comes to communicating the best version of yourself as a small business owner and really speaking to your audience. She is also a lovely, lovely person, and like me, was named as one of the top 100 inspirational female entrepreneurs in the UK in 2020. So get your notepads out because you're not going to want to forget the advice that she gives you today, trust me. Relax and enjoy this special podcast episode with Susan Heaton Wright. Welcome, Susan. Welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. Thank you for being here.
I am absolutely delighted. It's been lovely getting to know you to prepare for this this wonderful podcast. And thank you for inviting me. Thank you for including me in your community.
Oh, not a problem. I mean, you're a fellow award winner. You know, I'm talking to the same entrepreneur winner of, was it class of 2020 you were?
We were the class of 2020, yes.
Yeah, that was Small Business Britain's award for top 100 female leaders in the UK. So congratulations. I mean, the title stays with you forever, doesn't it?
It does, and it's something that I was really proud of. And I've met so many amazing people like yourself
Thank
who
you.
continue to inspire me.
I know, me too. I've only been part of the community for a couple of weeks and it's been absolutely fabulous. The women that I've met are another level. They really are. So it makes you feel quite humble, doesn't it, when you start talking to them?
Absolutely.
But I want to let the ladies listening know why exactly you're here today on the podcast to talk, because I'm really excited about this and I think that you are really going to help them, because you are an expert in communication, aren't you? And your business, Superstar Communicator, teaches people how to present the best version of themselves in all kinds of business interactions. Now, the ladies that are listening to this podcast, they are mainly from the creative field. So, they might have their own business, they might be thinking of starting their own business, and they might be sat there thinking, well, actually, I don't communicate that much because I work from home, I'm working from home on my own. I've got the dog and maybe a small child for company. I don't actually see many people during the day. I'm not in meetings, they've not got presentations. But what they don't realize is that every single day they're running their business, they are communicating themselves to all the people who come into their lives, whether it's via email, whether it's on social media, whether it's in the street talking to somebody, and you're talking about what you do. And their daily interactions actually do affect how people perceive them and their business. So it's so important to get that right. And I want them to learn today about the importance of communication to grow their business so that people want to connect with them and they want to buy from them and support them. And I think particularly focusing on the situations that they're going to find themselves in, like talking to customers at craft fairs and markets, like a thing that we all absolutely dread as creatives, pitching their products to shop owners and things like that, and also communicating online through social media. So that's the direction we're going to go with today on the podcast and see how you can help our ladies who are listening. But first of all, I want to find out a little bit more about you and tell the ladies exactly, who you are and why you started Superstar Communicator.
So I'm a business owner. As you very kindly said, I was one of the F entrepreneurs for 2000, but I've also won other business awards for my business. Um, the reason why I do it is literally because I know personally what it's like to be undervalued and underestimated because of the way that I presented myself. Now, I don't mean it's you being the loudest person in the room or oversharing or boasting all the time, but I remember exactly the time, aged 17, when we're all thinking about what we're going to do when we leave school. And I wanted to go to university, but for some reason, the teachers at my school did not think I was bright enough, despite the fact that in my mock exams I had got marks and things like that. Now, as it happened, they wouldn't give me a UCAS form, but I found one happened to be hanging around somebody's desk, and I
Brilliant.
completed it myself. And in fact, I asked the headmistress if she would support me, and I went to a top university.
Amazing.
Now, yeah, yeah, and got offers at all top universities. Now, I could be really about this, but in fact, there's a lesson to be learnt from that. And that is that for whatever reason, I was not presenting the best version of myself, so that they had almost the confidence that I would be good enough to do the exams, to deliver on the day.
Yes.
And my whole mission, the whole why round Superstar Communicator is that there are many people, of which creatives are part of that group, who might not, for some reason, present the best version of themselves. So either people don't have the confidence in their services or their abilities, or because they don't show value themselves, other people will take the mickey out of them.
Absolutely. I mean, I can relate to that when I first started my business as well, my stationery business 15 years ago. And, getting out there and promoting your products to people that you don't know and you've never met is hard.
It's
It
very
takes two
difficult.
guts, yeah, to get there behind a stall and say, this is what I do. Will you spend your hard earned cash on it? And I think a lot of women listening would really relate to that and appreciate sort of any kind of guidance that you can give towards how in person to start with, they should be presenting themselves in a way that exudes confidence, even if they don't feel it inside, because people think I'm a confident person. You know what? I'm really not. It's funny, isn't it? Uh,
Yeah,
but it's a mask that we put on, I guess.
I think so. I think first and foremost, you need to value what you do, because
Yes.
if you're not able to demonstrate that to other people, they will they'll take the mickey, won't they? I suspect your business, you started within the wedding industry,
Yes.
and we know we know that that is a hugely rewarding sector. However, there are some people that don't value your
Yeah.
contribution. I'm being very diplomatic here.
That is a nice way to put it, yes. Without a doubt, there's been many arguments about pricing and negotiating and stuff, and people don't understand the work that's involved with handmade items, and that's where I think it knocks our confidence, because when you
Yes,
get
of
that kind of
course.
feedback from somebody, you think, oh God, is it me? Like, are my prices too high? And actually, no, it's not. It's the problem lies with them, not with your pricing.
Absolutely. And I think with that, um, what I call data comes into that, data proof.
Yeah.
So if you know what the going rate is for your service, for your product,
Yeah.
and also you're able to say, in order to do this to the quality that you want, I have to spend X number of hours. And if they say, oh, well, I can only pay this, okay, well, you can only have half. Or are you saying to me that I am only worth £5 an hour of my time?
Exactly, because they wouldn't be paid that, I tell you, in whatever job
No,
they
they wouldn't. And you know what? They will say, oh, we've only got a limited budget, but they're quite happy
do.
to spend £500 on designer shoes.
Exactly. Or even just go for, 2 or 3 coffees a week, which mounts up. Sometimes I think that, like, God, I've spent 15 quid on coffees this week. It's
Yes.
ridiculous. And it's about value.
It is about value, and it's about understanding how long you have spent for that and being really, really clear about that. Because if you're not clear about it,
Yes,
um, the other person is going to sniff that out, aren't they? Let's
definitely.
put it
Yeah,
on honestly.
yeah.
I remember going to a craft fair. I should have brought these beautiful things upstairs to show you because they're in my sewing room.
Oh,
And this lady had done these absolutely stunning handmade covers for buttons. And
wow.
it involved some hand sewing and applique and things on buttons that were probably 2 centimeters diameter.
Wow.
And she wanted to sell 3 of them for £5. And And I looked surprised because yeah, and she said, "Oh, am I charging too much?
Oh,
I'll drop the," and I said, "No, no, no, you're not charging enough, my dear. These
absolutely.
are exquisite." I gave her £10, but I did say, "Please value your time. This isn't a hobby, and if
No,
you're here, really value it because somebody else will take take you advantage of you."
I will. I mean, if let's take a craft fair as an example. So the ladies that listen to this podcast, okay, they might do a few craft fairs a year and they are setting up, it could be their first one, it could be their 10th one, but they're setting up for their stall and you know, you're feeling nervous. You're worried about how you're going to come across. You put all your products out there, which are beautiful. I'm sure, like the ladies that you bought the buttons from as well, and you're proud of them. But there's something about when you're stood behind there and people are walking past that you feel judged. And
Yes, of course.
yeah, and you tend to find yourself like hiding, hiding behind either your phone or you know pretending you're doing something behind your stall so you don't have to talk to somebody. You know, I've done that before when I first started. But that's not how you're going to get the sales, is it?
No, it isn't, unfortunately. Maybe it's reframing it because not every customer is for you.
Yes,
Not every customer is looking for those exquisite hand hand sewn buttons. Not everybody is looking for stationery, and you're going to hopefully attract those people who are looking for your product, who are inspired by it,
yes,
to at
exactly.
least have a conversation. Because I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels when I go to a craft fair, I want to build a sort of mini relationship with the person I'm buying from. So
Exactly.
there are people, I mean, there's jewelry that I get, and I still go back to a couple of jewelry, silversmiths,
Mhm.
because I've got to know them. And we had a little conversation, and then you go back and say, "Hello, I wore those lovely earrings that you made. Do you have anything similar as a necklace?"
Exactly.
Because that does happen, doesn't it?
It does. That conversation, that initial communication with that person who's come over to your stall is the key, I think. And I always say, I mean, when I first did it, I remember if a lady came up to my stall and was looking at my things and there was something she was wearing that I liked, or, you know, her makeup was unnice, I would sometimes say, "Oh, I really like that scarf. Where did you get it from?" And then it would open the dialogue for us to talk.
Absolutely.
And then
Ab
all of a sudden, yeah, they were interested and then they wanted to buy. And it's not about tricking anybody, it's about forming that genuine connection with
Yes.
someone who you think may be your customer.
Absolutely, and, if it goes no further, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It might be it's not the right time, but they might say to somebody else who's also at the craft fair, "Oh, I just spoke to that lovely lady who does stationery.
Yeah,
Do have a look because I know you've got a party coming up," or
that's
something
it.
like that.
Yeah, and
Y
that's it.
These things do happen. I sew, and sometimes I go to sewing exhibitions, always dangerous because, the money
I bet
aspect.
it is.
Yeah. Um, but there is one particular designer who does patterns and sells a bit of fabric and things like that on every single occasion I have gone to these fairs. When I've walked up, she's either blanked me or gone on her phone or started talking to one of her colleagues.
Yeah,
Now, I'm probably not her customer, but it doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
I
Absolutely.
I've got a very negative perception of this particular person,
Yeah.
which might not be very fair.
No, but I totally get it. It presents the wrong
Yeah,
um image of you, doesn't it? And your business. It's like you don't really care. You know, you're stood there and you can't be
yeah.
bothered. Yeah.
Oh, middle-aged woman, she's not my target market.
Yeah. You never know who's
You
walking
do not know.
you
And
know.
likewise, it might be that we all know of people that say that someone goes past and says, "Oh, that's not very good," or, "Oh, I could make better than that." Let it go.
We've all heard
It's
it.
their problem. Yeah, we've all been there, haven't
We
we?
have, absolutely. I mean, I've had people before like pick stuff up that are looking for their wedding, and I've seen them muttering to their fiancés with them, going, "Oh, should we get a picture of that, and we'll make that ourselves?" You know, and you can see them with their phones out, and you're thinking, "Oh, I can hear you." You know, it's really rude.
Wow.
so rude.
Yeah,
But
it really is. And good luck to them.
yeah, exactly. They'll come back to me when they can't do
Yeah,
it.
they'll suddenly realise how long it's going to take.
Yeah, they will. So for the ladies listening then, do you have any tips on how, they could open a dialogue with potential customers that are coming over to their store? Like how should they be presenting themselves? Obviously body language says a lot, like we talked about, if you're on your phone, if you're shying away. Can you give me sort of like an idea of like the next time they're setting up at their stall, how they could be presenting themselves to, yeah, to try and sell their work really and start that dialogue with somebody?
That's a really good point, setting up the store,
Mm.
because, you might have little stands and you've got all these stands in front of you. You're peeping through.
Happen easily. That's a great thing about these stands, isn't it? The way you
It
actually.
is a great thing, but if you're sort of almost hiding behind them,
Mhm.
it's not going to be so good. So
Mhm.
either stand in front of your stand or have a gap so that you're going to be there so that you can be ready to speak. I love it when I see somebody creating something. However, the problem there is that you might be concentrating what you're doing and you're not engaging with the person.
That's
So
true.
in that case, it's always worthwhile having a second person to engage. So you could be actually making the things and or would you like to see what Joanne does
That's a good
and
idea,
have
actually.
have a conversation there. But I like the idea of small talk. In fact, somewhere I've got some small talk bingo cards,
Oh, have you? Oh,
yeah, that I often do with networking, because conversation and building trust
mhm.
and building reputation is all about finding things that you've got in common with each other.
It is. And how do you
It,
do that unless you do a bit of small talk? You
and
know?
small talk is your friend here. So, like you said, Joanne, about saying to somebody, "Oh, that's a lovely scarf."
Mhm.
Not only does it make them feel special, they relax. And then they have a conversation, even if they do not buy from you.
Yeah.
They will have a feel good effect about it.
Yes, they will walk
It
away thinking she was nice.
Yes, and it will make you feel better as well, rather than nervous. You know that there are things there. So I think that picking on something that they're wearing, oh, that's a lovely hat, even if it's hideous or makes them look really silly. Uh, that's a lovely hat. Oh, have you travelled far?
Yes, that's a good one.
Um, yeah, I love that one. Is there anything specific that's coming up
Yes.
that you're looking for? Um, oh, you've got a birthday. When's your birthday? Oh, you don't look 60.
Yes. Oh, we all love a bit of flattery, don't we? Definitely.
Flattery gets a long way.
It does.
A- And there are people that then will start telling you all about themselves, and then also you being helpful. It might be that they're also looking for a new hat. Just starting that conversation and really listening to
Yeah.
what they want.
And can I say, with when you're listening to someone, I always find it really reassuring when if someone talks to me, I like to repeat back what they've said so that they know that I've heard. So then they go, "Oh, she was listening," um,
Yes,
and it creates a better bond between.
yeah. Thinking about specific words that they say, there might be certain words or descriptions. If you repeat those back, you are beginning to speak their vocabulary.
Yeah, and then they warm to you a lot more as well.
Yes. There is an element of subconscious trust there, that you are part of the same tribe or
Yeah.
you've got that understanding. So vocabulary is really important. From a point of view of rapport, we know that eye contact is really important. However, I do appreciate that for some people, they find it difficult to have eye contact. Either they feel embarrassed or culturally it's inappropriate. One thing that I recommend people do is that I call this the bindi point.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that there is a proper technical term. Those the lovely Hindu ladies that wear bindi jewelry between the eyebrows. Um, if you look at that point, it will give the impression that you have eye contact without catching the eye.
I'm doing it to you now.
Yeah.
So, does it look like I'm looking at you? See, I'm looking at your bindi point. And that's a really good tip, so
It's
that's helped people's confidence.
absolutely. And don't be distracted by the phone or something like that. Or, oh, I've just got to write this down. Full attention to that person because they feel valued. If the phone goes, say, excuse me, I really need to take this call because it's my daughter, or something like that. Or say, I'm speaking to you, I'll just switch this off to acknowledge it so that they know that you're more important.
That's so true. I do that a lot where if my phone beeps, I'll just go, excuse me, I'll just pop it on silent, so that they know, yeah, okay, she's heard that beep, she's not being rude, and she's acknowledging it. I've actually just checked in, I've put mine on silent for this podcast
Yeah.
interview. I have, we're okay.
It's so easy to have those situations where we get distracted. If we are at a craft fair, the phone going, or somebody else. Oh, if you're mid conversation, then somebody asks you a question from another stall or something without reading the situation.
Yes, good point. I mean, the situations you find yourself in when you're in these sorts of environments are so unpredictable, aren't they? And you don't know.
They
And
really are.
and that's what makes people nervous when they're communicating because you don't know what someone's going to say.
So, that an organizer might come up whilst you're talking to somebody and butt in. You need to manage that and say, can I come back to you in a moment? I'm speaking to this lady.
Definitely. And
And that's showing that you really value that person, because I would walk away as a customer.
I wanted to talk about, still within that setting for now, about the craft fairs. If you get a customer that comes over, and I know that a lot of people will be wondering this, and they are questioning your prices. So say like you've got something priced at £10 and they come over and they're picking it up and they're turning it over and they're like, woman and ahhing, and you can see that they're going to enter a negotiation with you and you put your prices on there. Like, I know a lot of women struggle with pricing and the confidence to say, actually, that's what it is. How would you suggest dealing with those bargain hunters, let's call them, for to be kind? The people that come over and go, oh, well, that's really nice, but would you take £8 for it? It's not a market stall. It's,
Well, maybe say that.
yeah, but be really direct.
I
Yeah,
would. If they've been direct to you,
yeah,
you're actually matching their style.
that is so true, isn't it?
And say, and if they push back, say, this price is based on the amount of work that goes into it, the actual costs for the
Oh,
materials, and comparing it with what else is on the market.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't have discounts here
No.
unless you want to get 10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're happy to buy 10, then of course I'll knock a bit off for you. But no, you're right. It's having that confidence to say no. This is
From the word go, being really strong.
Yeah, I read something the other day saying, don't let your discount diva out, because that person that's always there saying, okay, yeah, I'll give you 10% off before they've even said they're going to buy it.
Absolutely. This is the thing. If you are discounting straight away, you are devaluing what you're saying, what you're doing.
Yeah, and let them move on. It's not for them. Let them move
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. If they're in for a bargain, go to the market.
Yeah, quite right. In the wrong place. So to switch the context then, so we've done craft fairs and talking about presenting yourself to the public, but what if you are a small business owner and you are presenting yourself to another business? So let's say, for example, you've always wanted to stock your products in the local high street shop, and they've given you the chance, you've sent an email and they've given you the chance to go in and say, right, this is what I do. I know a lot of ladies feel uncomfortable, again, in that situation of going in and pitching themselves, selling themselves. Like, how can they increase their confidence in this kind of situation?
Okay, this is a really good question. I created the Superstar Communicator methodology,
Mm,
and it's a 5-point way of really, really thinking about those conversations.
yeah.
I spoke earlier on about my why, my purpose, why I do what I do. And the 5 points are audience and purpose, content, preparation, your body language, performance, and your voice.
Oh,
Okay, so first of all, you need to do that preparation and finding out who you're talking to.
Yes.
Find out about the business, what else they have in stock, what sort of prices.
Yes. Do your research.
Do your research, but also how much you would be prepared to sell the products for. Because quite often, some of these stores, they'll say, well, commission is 50% or whatever.
Mhm.
And you need to understand how much you are prepared for them to take beforehand.
Yeah, so it's not a shock when you go in there.
You might find out that it is 50% beforehand. You could always ask, or they negotiate on the day, and you've got to work out in your mind what is the minimum you are prepared to take yourself, or what the situation is. Do you sell it to them and then they have their own markup?
Yes, so have that in your mind before you go in.
Yeah,
Okay.
find out who you're going to be speaking to and find out a little bit about them.
Yes, exactly.
So it might be that you find out that somebody has got a child at your school, for example.
Yeah.
Immediately in that small talk, you're going to have some rapport with them. You're building that trust. So find out similar things about them. Do that research. You might find that they live right next door to your best friend.
Mm.
You might have met them before. All of those sorts of things. You might go to the same rugby club. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
And
brilliant.
those sorts of things will make a massive difference. I remember pitching to one of the big four accountancy firms to do some work during lockdown, in fact.
Yeah.
And I did some research of the person I was going to speak to, and it turned out that she had studied at the same university that my late uncle had been professor of neurology. So
Wow.
immediately I said that we had a rapport straight away.
Yes, that's fantastic. And it just makes them feel like they know you and they want to get to know you and they want to
Yeah,
help you.
but you've got something in common. It means that you are no longer strangers. So then when it comes to the conversation, really, really think about what you want to say. What do you want to get out of the conversation? Do you want them to consider your products that they can put in their shop?
Yeah.
Do they have seasonal things where they promote different things? So, for example, if it is Christmas, do they promote handmade stationery, for example, or diaries next year? Things like that. Think about your products and questions that you could ask, but also be prepared for them to ask you about your process, how long it takes,
Mm,
um, what you're prepared to do. Will you accept that anything that isn't sold will be returned?
isn't it?
Being clear with them, but being clear with yourself about your boundaries and what you're prepared to accept.
Yes, I
And
agree.
then preparation. I would almost practice doing a little pitch. This
Mm.
is who I am. This is what I do. I'd love to work with you, and I believe that my products would enhance your range. This is how I work with you.
The
Um,
practice is huge. Practice is a big thing, I think, when
yeah,
communicating properly. Because even before we came on to do this podcast episode, I run through my notes, I have a look, and I just say it out loud. I say my introduction out loud. I pretend that the person's there already. You know, God knows what my neighbours think looking through the window. I'm there talking to myself. You know, but it helps. It really helps open up that line of communication, I feel.
it does. It familiarizes yourself, and it also reassures you because you already know what you're going to say. One of the biggest points that people get nervous about is, what am I going to say? And if you've not prepared it beforehand, it's going to make life a lot more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's that unpredictability of not knowing what people are going to say back. And they always think they have to have an answer. But it's not true. And you don't. Actually, someone said to me the other day, lovely lady that I met who runs some local creative workshops near where I live. And she said to me about the power of pause. She said, if you're not sure and you can't answer their question on the spot, it's okay just to say, let me get back to you, let me pause.
Absolutely, definitely. Listen to have a conversation, not to come back with something quickly.
Exactly.
But so we've gone to preparation, then the performance. You
Performance.
know, rather like when you're in the market, when you're in the craft market, really showing that you're engaged, really showing that you listen and you have eye contact with the other person. Use your facial expressions and your hands as well. I mean, not like this, but we
Yeah,
naturally use our hands when we're communicating.
I
And
do.
then the voice. The voice is an interesting one because there are situations that we are in where our voice changes.
Mm,
So if we get nervous, our voice goes like that. Be aware of that. Start practicing to relax, what I call relax your larynx. So
okay.
make sure your shoulders are down and you're using your natural voice rather than one that subconsciously the other person will pick up that you're nervous.
Yeah, it says a lot, doesn't it? Like children, they pick
Yeah.
up when, you are mad with them for real, and when you're just, playing. It's interesting. They can really respond to the tone of your voice.
Yes, they do. So be aware of that, but show some interest and enthusiasm rather than it being a Dalek.
Yeah, you don't want to sound like a robot, do you? And I heard somewhere as well that the smiling, I mean, obviously not in like a psychotic way, but smiling at people as you're talking, it comes through in your voice. So it really helps, warm them up
Yes.
to you as well.
Um, but I mean, there are some physiological reasons for that, but
Mm,
basically, it lifts up the back of the soft palate. So in fact, it means that more air goes into your resonating chambers. So if I were to speak like this, or I speak like this, can you hear the difference immediately?
yes, I can. Oh, that's really interesting because when I record my podcasts, I always try and smile as I'm talking,
Yeah.
as well as moving my hands around.
I have to unravel so many people's communication skills where they've been told by somebody not to use their hands.
Really?
And it is part of our DNA to
Yeah,
use hands.
it is.
Very small children can understand gestures. We know that
Yes.
when you have a small child, there are all of these songs using the hands and fingers, aren't there?
True.
It's and then all of a sudden we're told, oh, we mustn't use our hands.
Yeah.
And it is stopping part of our performance. It's stopping a crucial part of our communication.
It is. When I did a psychology degree back many, many years ago, and one of my lecturers was a man called Jeffrey Beatty. I don't know if you have heard of him, but so he was the psychologist, the Big Brother psychologist. Do you remember the Big Brother back in the day when it was popular? So he analysed the people's behaviour that was inside the Big Brother house. Anyway, he was one of my lecturers at Manchester University, and it was really interesting because his specific area of expertise was gesturing, and we did a lot about how
Yeah,
draining your gestures when you're trying to talk actually limits your communication. And I
definitely.
found it fascinating.
Yeah. We know how to do this. Last year in St Andrews University, they did a study where they filmed chimpanzees and then got human beings to work out what gestures they were, and they got them 100%. We know this. But
Wow.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, can you imagine? I was so excited by that.
Oh,
But the thing is that there are many, many presentation people that say you've got to do this to demonstrate this and this. Do you know what? Once you're thinking, I've got to do that gesture there, it's blocking something in your brain,
it is
isn't it?
definitely.
Particularly if you get it wrong. And naturally go, let your hands do it naturally.
Yes, exactly. Let yourself just flow. And it does just come easily. Like this
It
conversation
does.
is flowing really easily because, well, A, I'm so interested in communication. I absolutely love this sort of thing anyway. And I find you really easy to talk to. Um, but I'm just relaxed and I'm letting myself talk, and without trying to be a certain way. And I think that's
Yes.
the problem, isn't it? You know.
And maybe that's a message for your listeners that if you can be relaxed and you can be yourself, then that will show authenticity. Then,
Definitely.
if there are people that don't like your product, don't like your service, that's fine.
Yes. Exactly. And I want to just touch on the fact that you used to be an opera singer, didn't you? So I love this. I mean, I've never spoken to an opera singer before ever. And when I told my husband that I was today, he was very excited. He loves opera. Really random, he really does. As well as rock music, he likes opera. But you obviously must do a lot of warm up exercises, or you would have done as an opera singer to get your voice ready, and that's that sort of thing we were saying about practicing. Um, is that applicable to people that are practicing to speak to customers?
Absolutely. I do a warm up, but it's the warm up for the whole body because it might be that you've driven to, country fair and you've been in the car for an hour and then you've lugged all of the stuff out. You're going to be stiff, aren't you? Certainly, if I've been driving for a while, my lower back gets very stiff.
Mhm.
So I do a series of exercises and and then warm up the voice. I don't la 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 la, don't
Mhm.
do any of that now, but I will hum just to place the voice in the right place. But it energizes the whole body because when you're speaking, when you're an opera singer, you are actually using the whole body just like any other athlete. Um, and when you're having a conversation, you are wanting to be relaxed. So if you can do exercises, that really, really helps.
So it does work. Yeah.
Yes, it does work.
Brilliant. I'm going to start doing that even before my podcast. I'm going to do a warm up.
Yeah, there's it gets your mind focused.
It does. And as I said this morning, I woke up and my daughter didn't sleep again last night, and I'd had like about 3 hours sleep. And I thought, right, okay, I sound really croaky, I need to kind of warm up my vocal cords a bit for this episode. So that's why I was talking through things and looking at notes and practicing, and it did help me.
But also it helps you focus
Yes.
on what you've got to do.
Brilliant. So I wanted just to talk about the importance of communicating their personality online, because this is something that a lot of people ask me, and they say, okay, my communication with people face to face is limited because I run an online business or I work from my craft studio or whatever, a bit similar to myself. Have been getting a lot more practicing now with these Zooms and talking to people, and I'm enjoying it. Um, but trying to communicate your personality through social media and through the content you're creating is really hard, I feel. And for a lot of people, they struggle with it. And also, they're not confident. They might not want to put their face on social media, and that, I would say that's absolutely fine. You market your
Yes.
way, but as long as you can get your personality across. So, like, how the hell do you do that? How do you get your personality across online when you're not actually face to face with somebody?
Well, videos are brilliant for that.
Mm,
And as we know, there is a real increase in the number of videos on social media.
yeah.
And because it's got that human connection, it really, really makes a difference because as a small business owner, you want people to get to know you and recognize you and
Yes.
find out things about you. Obviously, to be clear about what you will talk about, what you won't talk about. You might not want to discuss your family or where you live, things like that, of course. But they might want to know things about you. There are some small businesses that are brilliant delivering a little video every day about what they're doing.
Mm, it's true, behind the scenes stuff.
Behind the scenes stuff, or I'm setting up for this craft fair today, looking forward to seeing everybody. Please, if you've seen this video, do come up and say hello to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
and you could then do a series of photos of some of your products and you could do voiceover. So you
mm. Oh, that's true. That's a really good advice. I didn't even think about voiceovers. That is such
yeah.
a good idea for people that might be lower in confidence and putting their face on camera, isn't it?
Yes, so if they were to attend um, a craft fair, they could take a series of photos, or
Yeah,
they could do a little video of them coming in, setting up, and then doing a talk. Oh, this is me at this fair here.
I love that. That is such a good idea. And just to help them sort of dip their toe in the water of getting themselves out there. Because a lot of the ladies who listen have just started, and it's a bit
Yes,
scary to, say, oh, here I am on social media. And I think a lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome.
of
Me
course they do.
You do, and you think like, well, who am I to be starting a business? Well, who are you not? That's what I
Yeah.
always.
Well, you know, if you don't, someone else will take up that space, won't they?
Absolutely, yeah, they will. And it's just you have to just do it. I always say you have to just try. You have to do it, and get yourself out there, but in a way you feel comfortable.
From a point of view of videoing, what I would say would be to have a go. You might not want to post them, but
True.
start having a go, doing a 30-second. I'm going to my suppliers today, very excited because I've got a new design of stationery and I wanted to ensure that I'd got all of the materials to make it brilliant.
Oh, that's good.
Tomorrow I'll show you how I've progressed with this. You could do it over a few days
Yeah.
and you only need to do 30 seconds
Hmm. Just to try, just to see exactly.
just to try.
Even if you never post it, you've done it.
You have done it. You could easily put it on your website at another point.
Yes, that's true. I mean, my husband always says to me about the power of video, and he says you need to have something on your homepage where people can press play and see you. Like say 30 seconds where you say who you are, what you do, and welcome them to the website. And I think,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I, I do need to do that. Just never get around to it.
I mean, I know that there are always going to be some people that will watch it. If you were to do, I'm doing this today and here are the materials, that they will copy it. And
Yeah,
you know what? You can't change that.
no.
But if you've inspired interest and if you have a call to action at the end
Hmm.
where you say, do contact me if you'd like information on this new range.
Is there any sort of final words of advice that you can give anybody that might be listening? And I want to tell them more about obviously the Superstar Communicator. You've got a freebie, I believe, that
Yeah,
you.
I do have a freebie, and also I've got this book which
Oh yeah,
people might like. It's the wrong way round on here.
I
It's
can
called
see
the
it.
30-day plan.
Yeah.
And what I do is there are 30 challenges.
Oh, this looks
Um,
like my kind of book.
yeah, I know. So smile when you speak. Hey, it came up as smile. As if by magic, smiling makes your voice warmer and more engaging. So you have a go at it.
Yeah.
How did it make you feel? And what positive outcomes did you have from that? And more notes for
Mhm.
every day. So some of these are more business in the office orientated. However, who you speaking to? You remember we talked about thinking about who you're speaking to. There are prompts every day thinking about those things. Be clear and concise. Send a brief agenda. If you've got a meeting, hey, I'm looking forward to meeting with you.
Yes.
I hope that we'll be able to talk about this and this and this.
So that they could use that if they were going into a shop or to pitch their products, for
Yes.
example. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
So I can send a link to that. I do have a presentation skills top tips,
Oh,
which might be the best one.
that's a great one, actually. Yes.
And what I always do, because I'm always researching, you did psychology, I did geography,
Did
flu
you?
data. Yeah.
Don't ask me where any countries are. I'm rubbish at geography. Oh gosh.
Well, it's all changed since I was there. What I always do is when I've got a freebie, I ask people a couple of questions because I collect the data. So it's really useful for me to be able to say, well, 85% of people from my survey out of 150 don't like this.
Well, I'll put the link to the book.
It's in a Kindle version as well.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'll put a link to that, and then also the link to the presentation, the freebie
Fantastic,
presentation as
which
well.
I will send you now. It's
Fabulous.
reminded me
I know it's okay, and also the link to your website because it is
oh,
absolutely
please.
brilliant. You've got some
Oh,
stuff on there. I've had a right good nosy. Oh, and I'm sure that there's loads of ladies out there who you've helped today, just by having this conversation because it's a thing that we don't really talk about. We're just sort of thrown into it with our own
yes.
business and expected to know how to do it. And if you're not particularly confident and you struggle in social settings or talking about yourself, like these little pieces of information are gold to us.
Oh, brilliant.
They are. So thank you so much for your time and, obviously sharing all that knowledge with us as well. It's been fantastic talking to you. And if anyone has got any questions for Susan, please do leave a comment on this episode because I love to reply to them all. And then I'm sure Susan, I can always pass them on to her as well. if there's anything anybody wants to ask. But if you want to get in touch with her, I'll put her website and email address in the show notes as well. So feel free to drop her a message. You're on Instagram as well, I think.
I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn, so I always welcome anybody contacting me.
Me too. I always love hearing from people. You know, if it's just like, oh, hi, I enjoyed that episode. I love it. It's like, oh, thank
Absolutely, I think it's lovely.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for your time. And I will let you know how everybody responds to the episode. Hopefully they really enjoyed it.
Yeah, please do.
Brilliant. Thanks, Susan.
Take
Bye
care.
for now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
How useful was that interview with Susan? I really felt like she made that advice so relatable to us as creative entrepreneurs who might find it difficult to really put ourselves out there at times and just be confident talking about our business and our products or services, not just to our customers, but to the people we meet in everyday life. Because at the end of the day, there's only us representing our businesses. So we have to make sure that we are doing it right and we're attracting the right kind of people who are going to appreciate and value what we do and what we can offer. If you want to check out Susan's website or reach out to her via her Instagram page or LinkedIn, just to ask her any burning questions or anything, I've put the links on how to contact her in the episode notes. Susan also kindly gave us a freebie, which is her top 10 tips for presenting, which is going to help you the next time you're speaking to anyone in a business related capacity. So go and download that. The link to that is in the episode notes too. I've also included the link to her book on Amazon called The Superstar Communicator 30-Day Plan to Transform Your Business Conversations for Career Success, just in case you want to get yourself a copy of that too. So that's all from me today. Please do share this episode with someone who you think would enjoy it and find it helpful. Maybe they are a fellow businesswoman, a colleague, a friend, or a family member. I will be so grateful. Press that share button. And don't forget to subscribe to the Her Handmade Hustle Substack for your free dose of business advice via my weekly article, which lands in your inbox every Monday. What more could you want? Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast.